on there, jerk faces? It's your boy Andy, and you're watching Nocturnal Transmissions, brought to you by the Circle of Jerks podcast. It's a conversation you could be having during the day, but having at night. We're back with another stream for y'all with topics and, of course, our movie review. With me, as ever, is the homeboy Rob.
Yo, what's up going on? It's Tuesday, man. I'm excited.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday.
It's become my favorite day of the week.
That's what I appreciate about you, Rob. Your endless enthusiasm.
Well, hey, somebody's got to be enthused.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just, I guess I'm just keep becoming that old man.
I also am that old man. I just, there's just certain things that I choose to get excited for, and this is one of them. It makes it more fun for people listening. So
that's true. Or but then maybe that can be our new shtick. Like I'm the straight man. You're the wild one.
You're Eeyore and I'm Tigger.
Yeah. I saw this really funny kind of video meme. I don't know if it's but it's basically it's that scene from Star Trek, with like the two evil Kirks.
Yeah.
But it's with Eeyore and Winnie the Pooh. And then, and it's just like, Winnie the Pooh has the gun, and it's like, oh, which one do I kill? Which one do I kill? And then, one of the Eeyores says, shoot that one. And so, Pooh shoots that one. And then he says, like, Eeyore would never miss up an opportunity to, be killed.
Yeah. That is so true.
Right?
He's so depressed.
Eeyore is just like, one missed Percocet from blowing his brains out. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
Oh man.
That's a great role model for kids.
I know, right? A character that's just in perpetual depression. It's like, hey guys.
Oh, sorry, Pooh. Yes.
I just blow my brains out already. But yeah, anyways, we got lots to discuss.
All sorts of stuff.
All sorts of goodies. A lot of interesting things going on right now, and there's like that. There's that old Chinese curse. That's disguised as a blessing, but it's like here's to living in interesting times. And we are definitely in those times, those interesting times.
It's just we live in a weird time. But hey, those are the cards we're dealt. So we'll just we'll do what we can.
We'll do what we can. Yeah. So
actually, I have one point of business from last week that I forgot to ask you, based off the movie, and
okay.
It's a question I'll ask at the end of each of our reviews.
Do you?
These are romantic, films. Do you think that Yuzo and Masato live, happily ever after, or?
You did ask me this question.
Did I ask you that? Okay, and
you did ask me.
Oh yeah, your answer was horrible, sad.
No. I gave two answers. One was very optimistic and and lovely. And it's like yes, they did. They were able to better their circumstances, and they did open that cafe that that they role played in that bombed out building. But I then said, given the culture though, knowing what I know about Japanese culture, like I I also hypothesized that Yuzo kills himself. You know, after he sends Makaso home. Just because I know the Japanese culture and just like and how like shame, how like because it's very similar to Korean culture, and it's because Japanese culture is very shame based, particularly back then and after World War II. There was a lot of shame going around. Even like to the point where the soldiers, like former soldiers like Yuzo, were treated like so badly or like ridiculed so badly, even by like that poor kid. So my theory, like my very hypothetical theory about Yuzo killing himself afterwards is, of course, just a theory and me just kind of going dark for comedic sake. But yes, of course, I want to be hopeful, and the theory that I do put forward is that they do uh, better their circumstances and do eventually open the cafe.
Okay. Well, here's where I don't feel the suicide scenario works out because these are obviously characters crafted by Akira Kurosawa, and Kurosawa, although yes he's Japanese, he's obviously very famous in Japan, but he was inspired by Western culture. And actually his favorite director was John Ford.
Mm.
Um, so he loves westerns, and he loves Western culture. And I also think too because I think it was his older brother. I think it was his older brother who was like someone he really like heroes, someone really looked up to,
Mm-hmm.
committed suicide, and it
I see.
devastated him
Mm-hmm.
for his entire life. And that's why when you have a Lasso is seen as kind of like that's the voice of Kurosawa,
Right.
that eternal optimist. So yes,
Mm-hmm.
things are bad. Like we're gonna turn this around. It's gonna be better. And so I would say that those two through they have themselves. That's all they have. That they are going to fight and make it work. Like at the beginning of the movie, I think that suicide idea didn't seem too far off because Yuzo was pretty much he had enough. But I think through you know Moscow just kept like kind of pounding that hope into him. Uh, you see that turn on in him towards the end of the movie, and yeah, I think they actually end up doing. They end up getting married. They get to live together, and they make that cafe. Probably a little cart, but I think they end up when things do get better, they end up getting that cafe that they always wanted.
Right. Again, like I'm not like advocating for the darker ending.
I know you're
It's
not.
just yeah, it's just me having a little fun and kind of like knowing things about like Japanese culture and things like that, and just having a little bit of the fun with some dark humor.
Had this been the director of Sword of Doom, I might think yeah, you might be right.
Um, all right.
Yeah,
Okay. So
I just
with
want to
that
know
with
how
that
that.
out of the way, let's get into the topics of discussion for today. Um, let's get well. Let's do the Bitcoin thing because we're gonna eventually we are gonna talk about some of like the narrative shifts that are happening right now. But we've been talking about that you know literally since the whole thing started. With coronavirus, and so um, let's save that for last, and let's get into this new topic of Bitcoin.
All right, let's do it. So one of the big, obviously, like a lot of the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, that's really it's been in the news. I remember hearing this. It it seems like what, like 2 or 3 years ago, this kind of really started. I know it's been around maybe a little bit longer than that, but it feels like as far as like us hearing it through, you know,
Well, I
Not
mean, it's been around
necessarily,
longer. Like the first time I heard of Bitcoin was about like maybe 4 years ago. Um, but
that's what I heard about the idea of it, but like that's
yeah,
become it's
within the last few years or so, it's really kind of just like taken off, and people are now having crypto wallets, and and people are like starting to exchange Bitcoin for goods and services, certain goods and services, not all, of course, but
well, and hell, even in NASCAR, there's a driver who he right now because he's a part-time driver, but his entire salary that he's being paid is in Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency he's being sponsored by, but all salary is being paid in that.
mm,
I don't know if it's like Dogecoin or Bitcoin or some other thing, but it's like that's how like crazy it's gone. And I think in a sense it makes sense in somewhat because the way that because we've talked about the problems with the federal government being in control of the money and being able to print the money because way back was it way back when this is probably I think around like the Woodrow Wilson era where we started to get off of the gold standard because our dollar bills that was a gold reserve note. Like essentially, your dollar, like your
yeah,
$1 was
the
backed by
bill,
one
yeah, the
dollar,
bill represented a certain amount of gold.
right? And the whole Wizard of Oz book series is based off of like Frank Baum, shitting on the idea that like you're about the Federal Reserve and how it's gonna like, ruin the world. And he was right. I think honestly, the Federal Reserve and needs to go, and it's not because now our money is just like it's what our government says it is, and it's not
Right. Well,
backed
yeah,
up by
it's no,
anything.
yeah, the dollar is no longer, it no longer represents gold. It represents debt. So all of the money it will, at least within our monetary system is debt. That's all it is. It's like there's
Owned
no.
by China.
I mean, a good amount of our debt, yes, is owed. Yeah, is belongs to China. Yeah, that's all it is. Like debt from like credit cards, or debt from student loans, or debt from the loan you got to to buy your house. That's all it is. It's just the dollar is no longer it's backed by debt.
And so I get the idea, but we need to the government obviously the Federal Reserve is not going anywhere. At least no time soon. I don't see any pushback on that at the moment. But it's like, well, the government's not going to do anything about it, so the private sector has to do something about it. We need to create a currency that is not that can't be manipulated like our dollars are, because the inflation, especially now, inflation has gone. I think it's at like 6% right now, which is, I mean, we haven't seen that level of inflation since the 70s, back in the Carter era. And so let's create something that can be manipulated by government that will hold it, that will be supposedly it's backed up by something, but it just feels like I get the idea, but at the same time, like it seems like it's just like you're thinking of something in your head. Oh, this trinket or this ones and zeros that I have on the computer. That's that's what the that's what we're gonna count as currency. It's like it just doesn't make sense to me at all. Like I get it and I don't get it at the same time.
Right. I totally get like the panic, like with the whole inflation thing. I actually think that we're actually heading towards deflation, but I'll get that. I'll get there. I'll explain why that is in a little bit. But yeah, like to the point of like the idea that our money is represented by ones and zeros, and it's only and it's nothing but and the dollar no longer represents gold but debt. Um, I think you're right that we do have to come up with some. We definitely have to come up with some other means of some other some other type of monetary system. And I think but I don't think we should look to the government as the engine by which to make the change. I think we just have to start doing it ourselves. And I think a good place to start is just kind of like almost like a barter system. And starting like small like contract stuff with individuals between individuals.
Yeah, because there was I don't know if you watched it. I think I think we did talk about this where Stephen Molyneux did this whole it was like a 4-hour video on the comparison between the fall of the Roman Empire to America today, and how like the currency, it was like I think it was I believe it was silver. It was like silver, kind of like the currency, and as time went on, the government got a hold of currency, and they started kind of fighting with the silver.
And well, yeah, they degraded the silver. They start, they no longer made, or they were starting to cut the silver with like other like more inferior metals, and so like you kind of causing this inflation. So it's not or like maybe not inflation, but devaluing of the currency. So like now like a gold coin or a silver coin didn't like maybe a pure silver coin bought you like let's say 5 loaves of bread and an ox or or a cow or something, but now like but then like it changed and like the coin can only buy you like 5 loaves of bread, and so on and on and on. They kept diluting the value of their money. Similarly, what they're doing now with all the like spending that they're doing and printing all this money, and again like this money like they're literally like just creating this money out of nowhere, and it's not like, and this money is supposed to be what like it's basically our children's and our grandchildren's legacy. It's like the money that we are gonna make in the future, but we're taking it now.
Yeah, the other thing that more recently we saw that with Germany after World War I with like I think it was the Weimar Republic. Mm-hmm. I think it was, yeah, and they essentially just kept printing money, and it's like it was hopeless. Like it anything else was worth more than the money that was being printed.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? Like in a more recent example, we have Venezuela, where they started, they totally tanked their economy. Like Venezuela, one of the most resource-rich countries, on this side of the hemisphere, and like they had like a booming oil, they had a booming oil industry, but
there's no reason they should be one of the biggest countries in the world.
Exactly, yeah, to the point where they're now eating like the zoo animals, but it was to the point, the value of their currency was so devalued. It, like people would start buying things by the weight of the money itself, and not necessarily what the money represented. That's how devalued it was, and people were starting to like coat the sprinkle dust or dirt into the money to like make it weigh more, so they can like get more, but like without having as much.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
people in Venezuela, they're literally like burning their money just to keep warm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That because that's how worthless their money is. And if America is not careful, we're gonna be on that same road. I mean, if not we're already like on that road, or like
we're seeing an effect of that already, because I don't know if you've been to the grocery store recently. Like, have you seen like a lot of the shelves? I mean, like there's a lot of stuff that's just not there.
Yeah.
I've never, it's essentially you have a choice between like wadded beef and like creamed corn, or or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever
The pickings are slim
Quickie Mart
for sure.
items.
Yeah, the pickings are slim, and it's and what is it? And everyone's like really optimistic about like these trucker protests and things like that. But let's not count our chickens before they're hatched, because at any moment they'll flip the switch on it. Because right now there's the truckers are being seen as like heroes, and and like they're doing good. But just think about the early on in the pandemic, where you had those people like outside on their balconies or whatever, like clapping for like the medical workers. But then a year later, when the vaccines came out, and then those same healthcare workers that said like that worked throughout the pandemic, without the vaccine, and they decided, hey, you know what, like I think I'm gonna pass on this one. It's like, oh, you selfish person, how dare you? And like how quickly they were vilified, and they were fired from their jobs. So just as easily, these truckers, they're the heroes now, but wait until like the supply chain degrades even more, and then guess who's going to be the heels? It's those selfish truckers it's those selfish truckers who wouldn't get the jab. That's the reason why your store shelves are bare. Just you watch.
That's how the government's going to shift. That's because they're so flawless that they're going to find any opportunity to blame someone else, because it's like, oh no, it's not our shitty policies. It's because of the truckers. It's because of the medical workers. It's because of vaccinating. That's why like we can't go back to normal. It's like, and to be honest, like as encouraged as I am, it's like, well, it's maybe like a little too late, but like I guess better than never. But like the time to do this shit was two and a half years ago.
Yeah. I mean, and as kind of curmudgeonly as I play myself during these streams, I'm a very optimistic person. I said it, I've been saying it this entire time. It's like, the time to start fighting has since passed, but it's never too late to start the fight. And so, yeah, like I'm totally there with you there, Robert. It's like, yeah, the time to fight was 2 years ago. But again, it's never too late to start fighting. And yes, it's gonna be harder now than it would have been back then. But still, like it's the fight is still worth it. So, but yeah,
man, don't get me wrong. Hey, you know what? I'm glad they're great. You're doing something now. Great. I'm happy they're doing it. And obviously, like especially like on the Canadian side, I mean, they are doing some real evil shit. Like they're throwing nails on the road. They're actually siphoning like gas from the trucks, like when they're stopped. They've been finding people that have been siphoning out their gas or not providing. They've actually they've within like a certain area of the capital, they've kind of stop gas production. So like they can't fuel their trucks. They obviously have GoFundMe, who essentially stole some of the funding they had been getting. This also goes back to the idea of this like cryptocurrency stuff where it's like I'm not really a huge. I'm not saying that these things are not good, because obviously it maybe at some point we'll have some sort of funding, but like stuff like like Twitter and GoFundMe, like you're kind of, it feels to me like you're throwing your money in a hole. It seems like to me, like in a way it seems like a good idea, but the way that things get manipulated, like stuff like GoFundMe and all these things, instead of actually like physically handing someone money, it's sort of like, hey, what, you're doing this, I like your cause, I'm donating to the cause. And I'm all for, like, hey, if there's like a cause that you think is a righteous one and you want to help in some way, like, hey, I can't be there, but I'll help with my money, or I don't have any money, but I'll help with like my time or my skills. And it just feels like GoFundMe, who has been, they have kiboshed a lot of seemingly conservative causes, and the people that donated to this trucker protest, they essentially just took away all that money. It's like, oh,
but like here's the thing, like at least like when they're like people are giving them dollars, like that's a dollar, and like they know like what that will how much gas like that's going to give a person. But it's like but this idea of Bitcoin is so nebulous that it's like I remember I was asking somebody, it's like, oh, how much does a Bitcoin get me, and they basically said like, oh, you can get a postage stamp or you can get a yacht. And just like, that's not helpful. Like I know how much a dollar would get if I go to the store right now and I have $1 with me, I know what I can get at that store. Right now what you're telling me is I can get like one package of rolls, or I can buy out the entire store with one Bitcoin. That's ridiculous. It can't be worth like very little and a lot.
Yeah, because like just last week on our movie review, because we dealt with like a situation where like, well, what the hell was like 35 yen worth in compared to the dollar in 1940 like 8 whenever when the movie came out, and you can make that equivalency like, oh shit, it's like there was $1, 270 yen was worth $1. That's how bad their inflation was. Is it like where like 0.5 Bitcoin, like half a Bitcoin is worth like $3? Is that the equivalent? Or is it like where, one Bitcoin is worth like $20? It give me some sort of equivalence. But they can't do it. That's the thing that bothers me.
Right, exactly. And look how Bitcoin still requires the dollar for monetary value. It's like, oh, Bitcoin's up like $500 today. Oh, Bitcoin down $350 today. It's like, well, why is Bitcoin dependent on the dollar? If it's like this new currency, why give it to me in a way that I can wrap my mind around it. Like, well, like Bitcoin's up like 5 houseboats today. Oh man, Bitcoin's down like three dirt bikes.
Well, I think the reason that they do that, because to me it feels in a lot of ways it feels like theoretical math, where you're kind of like you're using like pretend everything to to make these calculations. But you kind of do it because we can all wrap our head, because we've been so used to here in the United States, the U.S. dollar. That's what we know. So we kind of have to, yes, they're trying to do something new, but you also have to connect it to something that people understand. We understand the dollar. Okay, right. So that's what I'm saying. What's the equivalent is like what is one Bitcoin compared to the dollar? Is it like where one Bitcoin is worth $20, and as it goes up, like if it goes down,
So like half a Bitcoin would be like $10, $10, and a quarter of a Bitcoin is $5.
Yeah, and it's it went up today. Now that one Bitcoin is now worth $50, or like it went down. Now it's actually a Bitcoin is worth like dollars. That we can wrap our head around that, but like a lot of these guys don't talk in those terms, and
right.
like I said,
I mean,
it makes sense. In a way, it makes sense because
I understand the idea of how like this is based off like some sort of algorithm, and like they can only be like a certain amount of these like Bitcoins, and like you can't somehow like manufacture them like in any other way without using like this like base like algorithm or whatever. That and like I understand like that makes sense to me, because like the concept of scarcity. So like there'll only be this amount of Bitcoin, kind of like how like, I mean, it's not a great example, but kind of like gold. Like like how much gold like you have, and like and that's like and that's represented in coins or bars or whatever. But how much
right.
there's going to be. But like with Bitcoin, it's just like I get that idea of how like there's only going to be this amount of Bitcoin. Like there's only going to be like 150,000 Bitcoin. Okay, fine. Like,
And then
but what can I get? But what can I get with it?
And then the other thing about this too is like you have like then they talk about like mining for doing like mining for cryptocurrency. How the fuck do you do that? Like where is this coming from? And there's so many different ones. There's Bitcoin, there's Dogecoin, there's whatever coin. There's so many. There's surprisingly a lot of different ones. Which one is the appropriate one? Which one's the one that actually does have value? Which are the other ones that are complete
and
garbage?
then like how much, like what is the equivalent of one Dogecoin to a Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin or or whatever other coin? Like what's the exchange rate on it? Or is it a 1-to-1 thing? Or is there more Dogecoin than there's going to be Bitcoin?
And I'm not always saying like, and normally I'm not necessarily one that I'm not going to try to dumb down everything for certain because we talk about some pretty high-minded stuff through the live streams and on our podcast episodes, but this is something where you're talking in me in a lot of theorem and like theoretical stuff. You have to take that into something that is understandable, where there has been nobody in this arena that has done that. It's they're talking in their language, in this crypto language. It's like, okay, that doesn't make sense. You have to put it in real. You have to take your idea, and also you have to, quote unquote, dumb it down into real world terms that people can understand. And I think if someone can do that and it makes sense, you're going to see a lot more people shift over to that.
Right. I mean, and it's because it's all about ideas. Because it's kind of like with Star. I know we always relate things to Star Wars, but but this might actually be helpful.
Yeah.
Think about the original trilogy, and you have Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker had like this really crazy potential to be like this very powerful Jedi. It's like, well, why? And then it's found out that his dad was a Jedi. I mean, you might say that
the most powerful.
You can say that he was retconned into his dad. Luke Skywalker's dad was retconned into being like space Jesus or whatever. But
yeah, that's right. The midichlorian.
But But anyways, but like at least that makes sense. Like because his father was a Jedi, so therefore Luke Skywalker would also be capable of being a powerful Jedi. All right, now let's take what's her face, Rey, character of Rey. And like, oh, she's really strong in the Force, and then she's able to do all this crazy powerful things. Well, why? It's like, well, we'll find that out until like the very end. It's like, oh, well, she's a Palpatine.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's just like, but and you can't say like, oh, that was the plan all along for her to be a Palpatine or whatever. Like, no, it wasn't. We know that isn't, because we know that there was no planning for the sequel trilogy. So they cobbled it all together at the very end.
I look at
it's exactly that same kind of line of thought. It's like, oh, like Luke Skywalker is powerful Jedi because his dad was a Jedi. Why is Rey so powerful in the Force? Fuck if I know. You have to wait until the third movie to find out.
Yeah, and here's the thing: it's like I can hold this $20 bill in my hands. It's worth $20. Now, the worth of like what $20 can buy me today, as opposed to like 10 years ago, is completely
That's
different.
Changed. Yeah.
Here's the thing: I can understand that in my head. I get that. But what I need, if there's someone in this arena that can help me understand, like where to the point where like it's like I'm holding a $20 bill and like it's something that's tangible that I can, like I feel like I can touch it and it's real, even though it's in obviously more of a cyberspace. I might be able to get on board.
Right, and yeah, like this, and like one of the things that proponents of like Bitcoin say is like, oh, it's non-decentralized. That's wishful thinking, because gold was decentralized at one point, but it all started to get controlled and like started to be amassed, and eventually gets controlled.
Yeah. So
and then and like also like they're trying to like they say like, oh, well, you can't be tracked. It's like, well, you actually they're actually coming out now with like tracking software, so you now like the government can know like what you're spending your Bitcoin on.
That's the other thing that like concerns me too. Like how long because the government is like, I think they're freaking out somewhat because this has become more of a thing. And it's like we need to find some way to control this or tax it. Let's get our hands in it.
Right.
Even though like a lot of these people that are in the government, don't even understand what the fuck the internet is. So, but it's only a matter of time before they do.
Yeah, I mean, sooner or later, someone with just like room temperature intelligence is gonna figure out how to like make money off of cryptocurrencies, and that's someone someone's gonna be in the government, because everyone in the government is not remarkably brilliant. They're a bunch of midwits. Even a blind pig finds a trouble.
Yeah, I mean the average age of our government is corpse, but it's
pretty much. I was actually gonna say mummy, but
zombie.
Yeah.
But even more confusing is like I don't this. I just started hearing this stuff right around the like end of last year. This NFT, like the non-fungible token stuff, like because now it's like it's getting to where they're selling like fake things, like and
this is so stupid to me. Particularly coming from an arts background, this like completely didn't make sense to me.
First of all, the majority, like, and from what I've seen on right and the left, nobody fucking likes this.
Pretty much, yeah, because like the left thinks it's a way to like screw over artists or whatever, and like just kind of pushing, or just like kind of, or like like kind of the communist arguments, like just allowing the bourgeoisie to have another forum or arena to control or whatever, and the right is just like, it's like, oh, this is just another way to track you.
The rage on her is saying. Like,
yeah, and I mean they're already finding like counterfeit or you know or what is it like stolen work that's being sold, like, you know, and not like, and the artist doesn't get even a slice of any of it.
Yeah. And also it kind of makes me think, like, why is this all of a sudden coming to the forefront? Why is this becoming a thing? Here's why I think it's becoming a thing, is because, you know, we just had, you know, now Facebook is now Meta, I guess. They're trying to create the metaverse. And
I never, you know what's weird? How can Meta be the parent company of Facebook when Facebook came up first?
that I couldn't tell
You
you.
know, I mean, that's just a basic question, because you know how they're, you know, before all they did was talk about Facebook, 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 but now they're coming out, like, you know, when Meta came out, they're saying like, oh, Meta is the parent company of Facebook. I don't know if you realize this, but they started using that language, you know, and classifying Meta as like the parent company of Facebook. It's like, how does that work? Because Facebook came out first. I mean, did they like set up? I mean, unless like Mark Zuckerberg set up this like other company like Meta first before he came out with Facebook, but
You know, whenever I hear Mark Zuckerberg talk, it's like a less interesting version of Data from Star Trek: The Next Generation. But here's the thing: he's boring but radical at the same time. That's how they get you. He's so fucking boring, and like
right?
when I
You know,
listen to his
yeah, like, you know, I mean, when he's not being a meat chef,
it's like, I don't know how to drink water. You know, I don't know how to interact with humans. You know, it's just like, what? Oh my god, where do they find these people? Where?
Yeah, and I think South Park did it the best, because they, you know, when they did episodes with Mark Zuckerberg, they made him talk like he was like, you know, this badly dubbed kung fu movie character. You know,
Yeah.
that's such a good like visual representation of like how um, out of touch he is, because he's not like, you know, he's not within the zeitgeist, you know, of culture anymore.
No,
You
he's
know,
like,
and what's more, and like, and that what a great way to depict that. It's like, of like, from this late '70s, like, badly dubbed kung fu, like, you know, like, I'm Mark Zuckerberg. You know, it's like, I made Facebook.
I just had to say,
It's
like,
so brilliant.
at least on the NFT front, I think we have at least among the populace, as of right, we have somewhat of a consensus that it's all bullshit, and it's like, do not invest in this. You're an idiot if you invest in this. It's stupid, and or at worst, a lot of people are like, I don't know what this is. I don't feel comfortable putting my money into this because it doesn't feel like it's anything. It feels like a scam.
Right. I mean, yeah. I mean, a Picasso is a Picasso. All right. I pay for a Picasso. I get a Picasso. But like, this NFT thing is like, I pay money and I get this little digital badge or whatever that says like, I own this digital representation of a piece of work. It's like, what? Like, it's like, does that mean I own the work, or does it mean, or do I just own like this specific token that represents the work?
Well, and this goes back to, you know, when I
There was, yeah. I don't know if you heard about, there was this person who bought like an NFT of some sort of work, some sort of like big like franchise thing.
Yeah.
But then he thought that he then owned the work, and so he was trying to collect royalties or something on the work. It was like a book or something, or I forget.
You don't own shit.
Yeah, I forget the specifics, but he thought, because he bought like the NFT of that specific thing, he thought he owned it.
Nope.
You know, so he's like, so then he started, and I think it was like something like pretty, or what people find objectionable now, and so he tried to like, I think he was trying to like get it shut down.
Yeah.
And he thought he could do it because he thought because he owned the NFT, he thought he owned the rights to everything.
Well, this happens in gaming too, technically. You know, I in a way, I guess maybe I understand NFTs in a way because there are certain games that you like. Let's say you're playing a game online, right? And you know, one of the I don't really play too many games online, but one that I do play online is a game called Destiny. It's actually a really fun game. I enjoy it quite a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But what you can do, there is currency in the game that you can't get through just grinding the game. It's not something you can. You have to use real world dollars to earn this currency. So
Mm-hmm.
you end up, and I don't do it because it's like, why? I mean, unless it's like, you know, actually it does look pretty fucking cool, and I kind of want my character to look cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, so buying skins and stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's like, but that's kind of like what I think the NFT is like. But it's like if you're not, this is where like in at least like when I'm playing the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get to enjoy the thing that I bought, you know, in real time. Like, yes, I don't. It's not something I can hold in my hands per se, but I get to use it every as I'm playing the game.
Right. Yeah. No, I totally get that because there's like I downloaded a golf game on my phone. I play it sometimes. And in the game, like you're able to earn like dollars or coins that you could then use to like upgrade your clubs or buy like special golf balls that that you're able to like hit farther or you're able to cut through the wind. Yeah, so that I understand, and like yeah, you could buy spend real money to buy the in game money, but like who's gonna do? I'm not gonna do that shit.
Yeah, but the thing, even in that sense, even though it's not you're using real money to buy something that's fake, you're still able to like kind of use that
Right,
thing,
you're still getting something. You're still getting something in exchange for the money.
But what do I get? Like as far as like where would I enjoy it? As far as like I
Right,
bought
yeah,
this.
and I think one of the things I heard about NFTs is like it's supposed to it's like something to do with like usage and copyright claims. So like so yeah, I mean I still can't get my head around it, but it's
to me like in one sense the cryptocurrency makes a whole lot more sense than this, and this is where I think NFTs I think they're gonna try to create this like weird crazy virtual reality thing where we have the you have the all this VR stuff, like you can live in your your weird space. Like,
yeah, they're trying to make Ready Player One a thing, like a reality.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you remember in Ready Player One, but like when he found like those token or whatever in the challenge, he actually got like in universe like money, and he was actually able to use that to buy like actual things in reality, like that sense suit. So like if someone touched him in the Oasis, he could like actually feel it in reality.
It's a Matrix. We're in our gelatinous sacks, and God, what the hell is his name? Joey Pants. He's like, I know the steak isn't real.
Oh yeah.
The scenery isn't real, but it's like, God damn, it tastes so good. Like,
what's the fucking difference?
Exactly. I really feel like, it sounds like some sort of Alex Jones conspiracy. It's like they're trying to turn it.
The frogs are gay.
Yeah, the frogs are gay. which she was actually right about that, and she was right about like a lot of these weird secret societies that he discovered, and it's like, so I don't think that he's off on this either. He's probably I don't know, I haven't listened to him recently, but he's probably talked about this stuff too, and I really feel like this might be something that this is kind of that first start into that.
Yeah. I mean, probably, but yeah. I mean, they could try, but we'll see. Because I think they're trying to do too much too fast, and they're trying to give people that Ready Player One experience. Like they want to make that movie a reality, like, but they're not willing to go through the growing pains of it looking like fucking Atari before they could get it to like PS5.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, good luck. I mean,
good luck.
Good luck. That's all I can say. Good luck. You could try, and but ultimately, it's also a choice. It all boils down to a choice. Everyone thinks that they're being forced or whatever, and yes, there is an element of and of anything. There's always an element of coercion. Like even like, like when your phone gets like that update notification, it's just like it's like actually it's fine. My phone is running fine. I don't think I need this right. I don't think I need this update right now. And then they keep pushing it to the point like they say like, okay, we'll let you buy we'll let you forego this upgrade for 30 days, but after that 30 days, it's gonna happen no matter what.
Yeah.
And so.
Well,
yeah, but I get the idea that that there is some sort of force applied, but also, everything in life is a choice.
But as our character in the movie last week, Yuzo said, you can't fill your belly with dreams.
Right. Joey Pan says, "What's the fucking difference?"
Hey, and who knows?
Yeah, it's like who knows? Well, I guess we'll find out. Live our lives long enough, we'll find out.
I hope I'm a corpse in the ground by the time. It just seems. We live in a weird time. Like I said, with the cryptocurrency, like I almost like if someone can really like break it down into some like real world tangible terms for me, I actually might be willing to go in that direction. But until that time, there's just no way. The NFTs just feel like it's like it could be as simple as a scam or something more nefarious. Or something more nefarious than that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't see myself getting into Bitcoin. I mean, one, because I don't have the money to spare to invest in Bitcoin, but what happens when the power goes out? What happens if the internet in your area goes down?
Please.
Like, how do you access your wallet?
There was that what was that story from like a couple of years ago? Where
the founder or whatever of some cryptocurrency, like he was the only one with the password, and like he died, and so like now everyone's money is like gone.
Yeah, that's the other danger, and that's where like it just.
I mean, that's an actual reality. I mean, you can say that I'm being pessimistic, or that you're just being a Debbie Downer, embrace the future is now, old man. It's like
this guy's getting about to be about like 60 years old. Maybe I better sell.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, it's like, yeah, like it's like I can embrace new technology. I mean, I drove a car from literally the last century. Like my first car that I had was from 1999. You know, and I drove that, and then I bought that car in '04, so it already had like 5 years
Like,
on it.
for a long time.
And then I drove it for 15 years.
Yeah.
After that. So so that car's been around for 20 years. I drove it around for 15 years. Um, and then when I got a new car, I totally embraced new technology. It's like, because some technology is actually useful, like a backup cam in my new car. I fucking love that thing. It's like, how did I ever live before this?
Here's the crazy thing, because with that stuff like that, like I've been noticing that there's so many people that like have new drivers who are so used to those things, and
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, those things are gonna fail at some point. They will. It's just gonna happen. And
Right. Well,
they
yeah, I totally get that. I still check my mirrors, even like with the sensors and the backup cam. I still, I'm occasional to, I still turn my head.
Yeah.
Even though I have a backup cam, even though I have sensors, I still check mirrors. I still check out the windows. Um,
It's funny. It's like I've
yeah,
driven.
so yeah, I'm completely comfortable with new technology. I'm completely fine embracing new technologies.
Driven
As long as they make sense. Like
yeah,
I can wrap my head around it.
and I've driven all types of cars. I've driven classic cars from like the 50s and 60s. I've driven standard transmissions. I've driven automatic transmissions. I've driven SUVs. I've driven you know um, compacts. And like the other day, like I blew my wife's mind. Like when I did, like it was like a weird parking lot, and the best way for me to get into the spot was to just do like this, like kind of back up into the spot, and
Mm-hmm.
I did it. It's like, you can do that. It's like, yeah, it's not that hard. It's like, but you have no cameras. It's like, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
need them.
it's called knowing your car. There's sometimes I miss my old car, just because of how much like I actually had to like know like my car, and like how much I knew, like how much space I knew was like to a certain point before like I had to like put in reverse or whatever, and like if I'm able to make a U-turn, and like just knowing the radius and everything. That's
The thing that bothers me
although I
now
do
about like,
although I do what I really enjoy about my car, and it's because it's a newer model, uh, uh, Explorer, and I grew up learning how to drive on an Explorer, and one of the things I really enjoyed about even like the Explorer that I learned on, it's like the turning radius was amazing. The
yeah,
turning radius on an Explorer is amazing, and I always remember like I was when I was up whenever I was driving like my friends, or I had a full car, and they're like, I was like, oh, you're never gonna be able to make that. It's like, oh, really? Like I made a U-turn on a 2-lane highway like in the mountains, and I completely cleared it and was able to do a complete
nice.
U-turn on a 2-lane highway in the mountains, and everyone's like, oh my god, how did you, like, you can do that with this car? It's like, hell yeah.
I love being able to like blow people's minds. It's like, dude, it's like, well, I've been driving for a while, and thankfully
Right,
I
but
can.
also, you just got to know your car too.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, and I'm actually like, I wanna, I want my wife, because my wife's actually a pretty good driver. But what I want to do for her, just so because there's a lot of situations she hasn't been in, as far as dangerous situations. I want to take her to one of those like highway, like highway safety where they put you in in a controlled situation, but they're putting you in those like uncomfortable situations, like a icy road or
Hmm.
slick road. What do you do? What do you do when the car is out of control or you blow out a tire? Like what do you do? And they and that's something that I want to put her through, so that way, like when if that situation happens on like the highway or wherever she's at, she doesn't panic and she remember, oh, I've been through this situation before. I can do this.
Right.
And
Yeah.
Because that's why there's so many accidents. Like it's
Yeah, 'cause, yeah, we don't get fully trained on like how to drive. Like, yeah, we could like, signal to, when you're when you're executing a lane change or whatever. But it's like, yeah, what do you do when you spin out? What do you do when you hit a patch of black ice? I mean, Southern California, it's that kind of stuff is a rarity, but it's still good to know.
like I said, for me, like I would say, like, I don't know what to do on a fucking icy road, and that's why I want to go through that myself just so I know what to do.
Right.
Because it's a lot of times you just have to let the car just slide.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to turn into the skid.
Yeah.
Something I think I did instinctually once. So I remember I was driving. I was driving on this one street and it just rained, and so like I think it like brought up some of like the oils on the street, and it was a little slick. And then I depressed the accelerator very lightly, and then all of a sudden my car just started did a spin out.
Yeah, you just had to get into it.
Yeah, and then I didn't try to overcorrect. I just kind of like spun out with it, and then it turned out fine.
Yeah, I mean that's really what you have to do. Like, and everyone's like, oh, you hit that like large patch of water, you hydroplane. Mm-hmm. Everyone wants to slam on the brakes. No, don't do that.
No.
Don't do that. You're gonna be in a world of trouble because your wheels aren't hitting anything.
Exactly, your wheels aren't touching. They're not touching the ground. They're not making contact with the ground, so your braking is not gonna do anything anyway. So
yeah, it's just
go with it.
Yeah. Well, why don't we? I guess we're on our next topic.
All right. Well, yeah, a lot of narrative of shifts going on right now. From we got Joe Rogan, and now we have like the change up for the masks. Which I totally called, and mark my words, like because it's an election year. Watch, I speculated. I'm not making a prediction. I'm making a speculation that I think I said by summer, so like about June, about June, they're gonna roll back the like all masks, because right now it just came out that California. I mean, I'm gonna talk about California because we're in California and it affects us. But yeah, like Gavin Newsom said like he was gonna roll back the mask mandate for indoors for at least vaccinated people. So that's right now in February, but by June they're gonna roll back mask mandates for everybody, and then by fall they're gonna roll back the vaccine passports.
Don't be fooled. Just vote for good candidates that actually stand up for.
Right, but that's the ploy right now. Even across the country, you had the Democrat governor of Colorado saying like, yeah, all COVID restrictions lifted. We're just gonna live with it. It's like, oh, and if people don't want to get don't want to get the vaccine, that's on them. And even and then great, finally some common sense. Yeah, it is on the individual person.
That's what we've been saying.
The New Jersey governor came out and said that he was going to end the mask mandate for school children.
So pretty much like what we've been doing for any disease ever.
Pretty much, yeah, and then of course you had Dr. Baby Killer, Leanna Wen on CNN saying how like, oh yeah, children shouldn't be wearing masks because like they're the least affected by this thing. Now calling personal choice. I don't know if she came up with it herself or like one of her handlers, but like she said like, oh, one-way masking. So it's like, yeah, it's on the individual to wear a mask and protect themselves.
I had the Louis. I can't even say her name.
Yeah, just call
Liam.
her Dr. Baby Killer.
Yeah,
Okay, people. The reason why I call her Dr. Baby Killer is because she was the former head of Planned Parenthood.
And she wasn't baby killer enough for Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, they ousted her ass.
Yeah, but no, the one of the funniest moments, like when I forget what she was talking about, but like it was just something like outrageous, and because
Dude, well, with her, it's pretty hard to like nail it down because she said some like pretty outrageous things. But I think
I mean,
maybe I can try to guess. Maybe I can try to guess. And I want to say that it's the whole like, oh, we have to incentivize people to get the vaccine. Like whether like we tried the stick, we tried the carrot. Now maybe it's time for the stick.
oh yeah, and then it was funny because Dave Rubin was like, "Go fuck yourself, bitch." I was just like,
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if she's actually even a real person.
you can't. It's like, how can one person just be so evil?
Yeah, she was like, she was saying how like, you have to make the lives of the unvaccinated harder, so like it would force them to get the, vaccine, or like, oh, we have to come up with like reward systems so like we can incentivize people to get the vaccine. It's just like this person can't be real. Like she is like she is the most realistic animatronic I've ever seen in my life.
The other thing is funny too. Like, sorry, this is gonna be another Star Wars reference, but like in Star Wars lore, how like all the Sith, like many of the Sith have like they end up growing these like deformities, and like they kind of become like grotesque ghouls in some way or another. Like Darth Revan, Darth Vader.
Yeah, or it's like, or with Sidious, after the assault, after like he gets his Sith lightning like reflected back onto him, it just reveals like his inner self.
Yeah, I mean that's what happens with these people. They're so evil that they end up becoming like these like grotesque creatures. You look at like Nancy Pelosi. I mean, she's Skeletor. I mean,
like her, like, did you see her latest facelift? How like high her eyebrow was like up to her hairline.
Yeah, I mean George Soros looks like Emperor Palpatine. It's just
yeah. No, yeah. I mean, but you're is yes a skeleton, but yeah, but I would say Nancy Pelosi is the Crypt Keeper.
I always call her Skeletor just because it's like, oh god, she's just.
Yeah, I mean it's more catchy, but she's more the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah, no.
In terms of looks, in terms of looks.
No, see, Kamala Harris sounds like Crypt Keeper with her stupid laugh that she always has.
Yeah, it's like dead babies.
There's a lot, dude. I mean, even like that cringe video that she had with kids. Like those kids were all actors, by the way.
Yeah, no, exactly.
But there are some rumors that she's going to be Biden's pick for Supreme Court. Because he's already like, I'm going to choose a black woman. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it frees her up. It doesn't matter. But, like, it doesn't matter because it's not going to get past the Senate.
I don't know. It's all.
And it's like, we all know that he only, Biden only made that because Clyburn went up to him and said, like, during the debate, like, it's substantiated that during like the Democratic debate, like the primary, like Clyburn went up to him and said, like, hey, if you don't say that you're nominate a black woman to the Supreme Court, you don't get my endorsement. And then right when he came back from break, he's like, oh, I'm gonna nominate the first black female to the Supreme Court.
Yeah, it's I want more politicians like King Coolidge. Just no, we're not spending money. we're gonna
Yeah, we
do
didn't do. Yeah, he did. Yeah, and for those of you unaware, Calvin Coolidge didn't do shit.
Honestly,
All right.
I want to read his biography because
Yeah, and like, yeah, and he turned down like, and he vetoed so many bills too. Like, I mean, he didn't do anything, but he did a lot. You know, he vetoed. He kiboshed a lot of bills that were sent to him.
it's like, oh, we're gonna like, oh, it's just, it's great. That's exactly what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
And
he didn't grow. He didn't he didn't expand the. He didn't shrink the government, but he didn't expand it either. You know, he didn't. He didn't. You know, he didn't decrease spending, but didn't increase spending.
That's what I want. It's just like, well, I mean, to be honest, I want to radically decrease spending. I've talked about that so much. The UN, fuck that shit. We don't need that. That's, we already had like the League of Nations that failed. Why is the UN so important? It's really not. Let's stop spending money there. Mm-hmm. Let's stop giving foreign governments that
with like foreign aid crap.
I'm not saying like zero foreign aid. What are we getting out of it?
Or how about let's give foreign aid to countries that actually like us.
There you go. That's one.
Just bare minimum. Let's start with the countries that actually like us.
Yeah. Let's not just willy-nilly, create new programs. Let's throw out Dr. Fauci's salary, and that's actually starting to become something that I think people are starting to, some politicians are starting to catch on to. Hey, wait a second. We potentially have the power to investigate, and we can't fire him, but we can cancel his salary because we control his salary, and we can cancel that out.
Fauci is the highest paid public official in the government.
The highest paid politician in the land.
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't like. Yes, I know he acts very politician-y, but technically he's just a bureaucrat because he wasn't elected into that office; he was assigned. But I get your meaning. But in the government, he's the highest paid government employee, and his retirement package is fucking insane. Like on the league of maybe like 7 figures.
I think we can. I definitely think that.
And it also has lifestyle increases. So like as for as long as he lives, like every year, like there'll be an increase to like his allowance for like to pay for things or whatever.
I want that all zeroed out because
fuck that guy.
And it's like, you know what? You've made enough money already. You can, like if you want to get a real job and do something for, because you haven't done anything in over 40 years. So yeah, we can zero.
And you literally got everything wrong. Literally, that's not even hyperbole. He literally got everything wrong.
And honestly, any Congress member that is unwilling to do that, don't vote for him. Yeah, it's as simple as that.
Yeah, but again, like he wasn't voted in. He was he was assigned.
But Congress technically still controls his salary. They can.
Yeah. I mean that in that way, you're right. And
like I said.
Yeah, I mean that's why. That's why I told that's why I told that old man that I would have conversations with back like 2 years ago. He would tell me like, oh, you're so smart, you should run for governor, or you should be run for office. And I told them, I was like no, like I have to be king, and I can't be elected king. I have to be installed as king. I'll be cruel but fair.
You want to be a theocratic dictator.
Exactly. And exactly. Because if you can be voted in, you can be voted out. So no, like I have to be king, and I have to be installed as king. We have to, we have to have a revolution. I have to have an army, and they have to install me as king. Because like ultimately, like what, like if like because he would say like, oh, you're just a smart guy, and you make a great like politician or whatever. Like yeah, I would, but like I wouldn't have any real power because I'd still have to go through all of the bullshit like systems, and put forth like a resolution and get like people to vote on it and yada da 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 da. Like no, I have to be king and I have to rule by decree. And I can't be voted king because if you can be voted in king, you can be voted out as king. So.
Well, and I'm the crazy person that I want to radically reduce our voting population.
Mm.
Want
Yes.
to,
Let's first start with repeal the 19th.
And I want to. Yours.
I mean, tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong. See, I rather have it only be, I don't care I don't care if a dumb man votes, but if an emotional woman votes, game over.
To be honest, like, I'm actually almost willing to go back to like how it was, like where only landowners can vote.
Yeah, and that's the way I'm willing to meet you. That's where I'm willing to meet you. Like baby steps. All right, first we repeal the 19th, then we only have it landowners.
I'm out. That's fine.
Yeah, that would put me out too. I don't care.
And,
There's an old saying. All right, there's an old saying. If you don't put in for the pizza, you don't have a say in the toppings.
And I want radical term limits for politicians. You two terms. You can't go from being like a congressman or from a governor to a congressman to a senator to a president. No, you get 2 terms of anything. That's it. If you want to be in Congress for 2 terms, great. That's you're done. No more public service. You're out. You don't get to make a career out of being a politician. That's not what it's meant for. You don't get to suck.
Okay, that's where I would. Maybe you're right, but but what if you actually have a good representative, and then they're only limited to 2 terms.
But you know what?
But here, what I would suggest is that they're not allowed to serve longer than 2 terms. No, they can serve 2 terms, but they can't serve them consecutively.
Here's the thing, like, the reason why I use it the way that I do, we're gonna lose some people. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? We're gonna get rid of a lot of the incentive, but we're gonna get rid of a lot of shit at the same time.
Right, yeah. Get rid of the Bernies and stuff.
Sacrifice some of the good guys to get rid of all the shit. Because a lot of the reason why these guys keep running, and it's because there's a lot of financial incentive, like where they're going to sell us out to foreign governments, to
or you use your insider knowledge to make a fortune like Nancy Pelosi.
Exactly. Well, it's not just her. It's
I know, but she's the biggest though. She's the biggest.
And if we can't do my crazy idea of like just the radical term limits, you have to invest everything. You can't invest in the stock market. You can't do any of that stuff. If you want to set up like let's say you want to set up a trust or like a retirement account, no problem. That's fine. But you don't get to invest in the stock market and create legislation that is going to benefit you.
Yeah.
And that's a rule for every politician. You can't invest in the stock market. You have to invest all of your investments in everything, it's public service. You are sacrificing to be in
I mean, you should already like be in business or in an industry, or like, you should basically basically already be set up. You should basically already be set up. This shouldn't be a job where you're at it for like 50 years and then you get to retire with a golden parachute.
Our founders were business owners. They ended up becoming, they ended up serving as, public servants, as president or, whatever. George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, a lot of these guys, they ended up becoming, poor after their term as president. George Washington was a poor man after he left the presidency. Mm-hmm. He died as a poor man.
Yeah, I mean, this is a more recent. This is a more recent example, but like, yeah, even Harry Truman, he left the White House poor. Like, the only reason he was able to somewhat bounce back a little bit is because he wrote a book about being president.
And he was able to create his presidential library. And that's the thing, that he was probably, Truman was probably the last poor president after the White House.
Well, technically, if and I'm inclined to believe the stories, but like, yeah, Bill and Hillary, they were pretty poor. To the point that they were actually trying to steal things from the White House on their way out.
If you listen to their stories and actually believe them, but bullshit. I call bullshit on that one.
That they try to steal things?
No, that they were poor. They were not
poor. Oh, okay. Well, let's just say that they wanted. Let's just say that they wanted to leave more rich.
They maybe at best they maybe gave, but they were not poor. Trust me.
Fine. Yeah, fine. I'll fine. Again, I'll categorize it that they wanted to be more rich.
We sell the when you sell secrets the way that they do, fuck no, you're not poor. They have so many people investing into their stupid fund, all that shit. Poor.
Yeah. Kind of got off the beaten path there a little bit, but ultimately, there's a big change up going on right now, and
sorry, let's get the we can talk a little bit about the Joe Rogan stuff.
Just be aware of it. I mean, even with like the Joe Rogan thing, that's not completely, yes, I do think, it is a little bit of professional jealousy in that CNN and all like the legacy media feels threatened by him because of just the sheer number that he's able to attract, the eyeballs that he's able to attract to his show, and that they still haven't, they don't have the wherewithal to be self-reflective and be like, maybe we should be doing like, actually our job and like, and investigating things and reporting on like actual things that are happening. But those days of that modicum of self-reflection is gone within journalism. Now it's like all sensationalism and clickbait.
I would say, like, I mean, obviously, like, the what is being said that Rogan did is not what is actually happening. There's a lot more behind that. He had a lot more viewers than CNN. I mean, at this point, I think we have more viewers than CNN, but I mean, maybe that's wishful thinking, but it's.
I mean, we probably have more viewers than Brian Stelter.
Oh God, yeah.
I mean, not the entirety of CNN, not the entirety of CNN, but definitely more than Brian Stelter.
I'm totally sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm so straight. Oh my god. Yeah, dicks. I hate dicks.
I have to say, Russell Brand making fun of him was actually pretty fucking funny.
Yeah. I mean, it's so weird. Like, it's so weird. Like, who you find yourself lining up next to these days. But yeah, like I hated Russell Brand. Like, he was such a fucking tool. But but he's mellowed out a lot. And I've more and more, like, his takes are like more and more reasonable. It's like, god damn it, like you're so fucking annoying to me, but you make good points.
God damn it, like why do I like you now?
I know. I mean, not to say that he was never a likable kind of guy, but like when particularly his political points, they were so garbage. They're so garbage, and I acknowledge that, like, some of, like, his more philosophical takes, like, yeah, like, totally spot on, but it's like his political takes are just so garbage.
I think he's like starting to he's like, wait a second, this is bullshit. He's not there yet,
I hope
but
so.
Anyway, but
yeah,
no, what's being stated is not what's actually happening. It's not like misinformation. It's not about him saying dirty language. That's not the point.
Of course not. If you look at it, you can see, like, it's a systematic attack. Because at first, the big thing at the moment is misinformation. So they're trying to hammer him with misinformation. It's like, oh, you're spreading misinformation. You're causing people to die. It's like, no, he's not. It's like, and he in that first video that he put out, where you're saying, like, oh, like, before they were saying, like, if I talked about like cloth masks not doing anything, you were kicked off of social media, but now it's like accepted, and like, oh, and he like hammered them back on that, so that they couldn't get him on that, and so they tried. So that's when they went with the race card, which is their de facto kind of move. I mean,
and he capitulated to that. That's the thing where I'm like, I almost like I was on your side until you decided that, like, what, I'm.
Yeah, he bent the knee.
And like I said, Rogan, like, guy, I don't call him a sellout, but I would say, like, he's not a guy that's gonna, like, he's not necessarily playing to one side or the other. He's just a guy that wants to talk to people, and, like, he's interested in, like, different things, and he wants to.
Yeah, I mean,
he wants to learn from people that are in certain fields, and like, he obviously, like, the thing that he knows a lot about is MMA or comedy, so he's just wanting to talk to his friends and all these, like, interesting people. That's okay, great. That's kind of like what I see his podcast as. I don't necessarily agree. I really don't agree with him on pretty much anything, but I'm always, there's certain guests, like, oh, I want to, he's talking to so-and-so. I like so-and-so. I want to hear what they have to say. It might be a fun conversation. But I'm not, like, listening to every episode of Joe Rogan. That's just not happening. And the thing, but where I draw the line is, like, you kind of fold it to the mob in a way. It's like, this has nothing. They had to dig 12 years, and where they found something where it was like, oh, we got him this time, and the people that are behind that are it's not just, these are political activists who don't like you. They don't like what because you don't you're not in the mainstream lane, and okay, it's they just want to, but you want to capitulate them and apologize for what? Nothing that you said was actually wrong.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Like, well, here's the part where, like, Joe Rogan completely is I mean, well, at least for me, like I can no longer listen to him. It's because he apologized for no reason. Like, he even said himself,
I
like,
can't
I
feel
did
sorry.
he even said himself, I didn't mean it. I wasn't calling anyone like nigger, or I wasn't denigrating any specific individual by saying nigger. He was saying it like the most sterilized academic way possible, and yet he still apologized for it. It's like saying, it's like, it's like, you're by an open window and like there's a vase, and wind blows and knocks down the vase and breaks it, and it's not your vase, but then you apologize for breaking the vase. It's like you didn't even break the vase, but why are you apologizing for breaking the vase?
Exactly. I mean, we when we reviewed what was it?
Boss nigger.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
it's like,
I will say the word. I know where you're going, so it's like I will say the word for you.
Sorry, I was trying to remember the title,
Yeah.
but no, it's just like hey, it's a great movie. I love that movie. It's awesome, but it was that's a movie that was written and
Written, directed, and starred. Oh no, it's co-directed. Yeah.
And and it's like, so it's not like where it's not like we came up with the word. It's not like that we came up with the title. That was his title. So how are we denigrating the black race when we're honoring this to be honest, it's a great film. It's so
yeah, it's fun. It's fun. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's making fun of racism. It's stupid. Same thing with like Blazing Saddles. It's making fun of how racism is dumb. Or in the case of like what Rogan was doing is he was talking about how like he's a fan of Richard Pryor. One of Richard Pryor's albums was titled that. So or how like Red Fox would use that like on mainstream television. It just happened. It's not. It is crazy how times change. Where now it's like everyone like cowers and gets so angry over the words. And
yeah, here's the thing. But here's the thing with that. Here's the thing with that. It's that only black people can say nigger. And it's like, but just prior they always but they acknowledge that that word is denigrating and demeaning and dehumanizing. It's like, but black people are allowed to call each other that. Is it not demeaning?
Well,
is it not demeaning when another black person calls another black person nigger?
Can you listen
to it's like, well, yeah, exactly. Like there's that clip of that Kendrick Lamar concert where he brought on that white girl on, and she's saying your lyrics, Kendrick Lamar, and you still fucking roasted her. It's like, why are you using such disparaging language, Kendrick Lamar? Why are you using such disparaging language, Jay-Z? Why are you using such denigrating language? Fill in your favorite black rapper.
Yeah.
And what is it? That guy, Greg Gutfeld's sidekick, Tyrus. Tyrus. He put out Tyrus. Yeah, he put out a great response. I mean, he's like saying how black people should feel disrespected, but not because Joe Rogan said nigger, but that the left constantly uses the black people to as bagmen for to do all their dirty shit, to cancel people, to go out and like burn cities, and to go out and constantly playing on their emotions.
Yeah.
And he's right. And he's right for
Oh, dude, he what he said was like, I was like, damn, like he's got it, like right there.
Yeah, nailed it.
Honestly, I know we know like a lot of these like big big guys like Larry Elder, talks about this stuff a lot, or like this guy, or Ken Owens, like a lot of the, or Jesse Peterson. It's like this is we're not. I don't know if did you watch that documentary
No, I didn't watch it yet.
Oh, well,
I've seen,
really
but
good.
I've seen some clips.
You've seen excerpts of it, yeah. I watched the whole thing because it was just fascinating, and just watching like a lot of these people were like, yeah, I was definitely like on that side of I was on the side of like BLM and a lot of the political left, and once I started to see how it was being used, it's like, no, I don't believe in that at all. And you wake up, and I will not be used as some shill for leftist politics. I'm not a victim. I have a successful business, and the people around me don't call me like racist names or whatever. It's I'm not. It's just not the truth. Used for so long, and
yeah, I mean black people, they should be more offended at the left's and like the Democrats' constant exploitation of them than they should be offended by Joe Rogan for saying nigger.
Yeah, when you actually listen to like some of those podcasts in context, it's like, yeah, he used the word big fucking deal, but it's like it wasn't like he was saying I hate those guys. It's like it's not
right.
like
No, yeah, exactly. It's like okay, you hear the clips of Joe Rogan saying nigger or whatever, and like the very next question should be asked is like, who is he saying it to?
Who is he saying it to? How is he saying it? Like, what was the context?
Well, not even context. Like who? Just like because ultimately it's about like the individual. It's like, who is he saying it to? Because if he's just saying the word, like I've been saying it the entire time, and there's like not a black person in sight. So obviously, I'm saying it within context of referring to like Joe Rogan or like the title of Boss Nigger or whatever. But it's like even in the clips, there you have to be asking yourself, who is he saying that? Is he saying it to someone specific? If he's not saying it to anybody specific, then he is obviously not using that word to denigrate or demean anybody.
Right. I mean, like sometimes he was referring to a Chris Rock joke, and other times he was referring to Richard Pryor and like his album, referring Red Box, and like it's crazy that he just shouted that word on live television.
That Saturday night clip with Chevy Chase.
Yeah,
that's classic.
I mean, you would think like it's crazy that you have like that on television, like live television in the 70s.
Right, yeah, and they didn't even censor it when they did the playback for the West Coast.
I know, and it is crazy. So, but that's no one wants to like think about that. They just want like, oh, bad word, oh, scary, and they want to drum up this anger that doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy, you and I, we grew up in a time where I can't think of.
Yeah, the stuff that me and my friends called each other, it's like it would trigger everyone now, like all the kids now, yeah, but like, yeah, I'd like calling each other like homos and fag and
Yeah, mean, and I didn't grow up around white people. I grew up around Koreans. I grew up with black people, Mexicans. You know,
Yeah, my two of my neighborhood friends were black kids.
yeah, and it's like racism like was not a thing. I mean, it's not for me now either. But it's crazy to think that where I don't know where it happened, but like this like weird racist divide really started to happen. Again, maybe a lot of people point to Barack Obama, and I think that's kind of right. But yeah, like in the 90s.
But he was more of a figurehead. But he's more of he was more of a figurehead. But yeah, that's racism. Like was slowly starting to make a comeback in like the late '90s, because we were doing too well. Because race relations weren't a big thing, and the communist takeover had to happen, and the only way you have that is by division.
Well, that's the thing. It's like because it's not about like the workers overtaking the bourgeoisie. It's like so you have to have a different type of Marxists. It's identity politics taking over. You're scapegoating one race for everyone else,
Mm-hmm.
and now you're included in that. It seems like white and Asians are kind of like the scapegoat.
Yeah, and that's why I'm a proponent of critical race theory. Because it's up to us whites and white adjacent Asians to help those poor dumb black people, because they can't get equal rights for themselves. So we definitely have to help them because they're too fucking dumb. And I hope someone clips this out of context.
Monetized to begin with, but right.
I know, but like, yeah, if we're not demonetized for the amount of times I said nigger on this stream.
Oh.
Good times.
Yeah, it's just like, just think about like what's the things that we hear about on mainstream media, and like I said, it's include CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox News. It's all the same thing. It's all bullshit. Occasionally, you might occasionally these guys stumble on some journalism, but this is not where journalism is happening. There is actual journalism happening on the alternative sites. It's like I watch a lot of different alternative sources. I listen to there's different voices on YouTube. There's different voices on like Rumble and like all these different like platforms that they're actually doing something. They're doing actual journalism, actual thought, philosophical thought processes, and what's being broadcast on television is bullshit most of the time. And I'm like I can't urge people enough. Like, stop watching mainstream television. It's not good for you. It's bullshit. Especially the news. And this goes back to like I always, one of my guilty pleasure movies is Live Free or Die Hard, which is not a great film, but I love it so much. And Justin Long's character is like, you listen to the news? Let me tell you how bad the news is. That was back in like 2007. His character was so right. The news is terrible.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I can't stand to listen to it.
Back like when I was, I'm gonna say maybe high school, maybe earlier than that. I was like, this just seems like I couldn't formulate my idea about it, but I was like, something about this just seems so wrong. Like I feel like the media is just haranguing this person for no reason. It just seems wrong. And it's like we're only getting one side. We haven't heard anything from an opposing view at all. And that's what mainstream media is. It's all the same thing. You don't get to hear another side. Occasionally, you get into a journalist who says something different. It's like, oh God, it's like they're a different point of view. But it's fair. It's like a broken clock is twice a day. It's like sometimes you just kind of stumble upon some actual journalism. It's like, wow. But yeah, it's just pay attention to what's going on. What is being said to you over some of mainstream platforms? What's being said to you, the majority of like what's being said, not necessarily true. So just pay attention.
Indeed.
Should we get to our movie review? Or do you have anything else to say, Andy? Because I kind of went on a diatribe there, so.
Yeah. No, yeah, that's about it. Nothing, at least nothing, nothing that, you didn't so eloquently put in your diatribe.
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, let's get into our movie review.
Awesome.
Reminding you of all the theme for this month is, good romance movies. And I know good is subjective, but at least good. At least our subjective tastes, they're good. This one, The Ugly Truth, starring Katherine Heigl and Gerard Butler, from 2009. Those were the days. Let me hit y'all with the synopsis and we'll get going. Abby Richter, a lovelorn TV producer who, despite a long and arduous search for the perfect mate, is hopelessly single. The battle of the sexes heats up when her employers team her up with Mike Chadway, an opinionated TV celebrity who plans to put Abby through the ringer to prove his own theories about what makes men and women tick. Yes, this, again, it'd be, I think, I don't think this movie would be made these days. But,
God, no.
Yeah, I mean, this is your classic, like, battle of sexes type of movie.
Here, where I think this film is unique, because a lot of, and you know how much I hate romantic comedies, but this is one where normally Abby Richter, the Katherine Heigl's character would be the hero, like, oh, that's strong, feminine, taking charge, and like, and all the guys that are around her are like, super dumb and she's the smart one. That's not what we get here.
That's true, yeah. Mostly, Gerard Butler's Mike Chadway, he's her equal.
He's her, he's her opposite and equal at the same time. Like he
Mhm.
really like flips her whole life on her head,
Mhm.
and I would. This is where, because when I was trying to like find information about this movie,
Mhm.
normally like it's like, oh, so and so is actually supposed to be played by like this and there's normally like a lot of information. There's not
Mhm.
a lot of information on this movie. I dug deep. What I did find was a lot of hatred. There was all the big name critics. Oh, it's a piece of shit. It's so misogynist. Oh, it's terrible. And it's like, and that I have to say, like, yeah, I think this is why, because it's not a feminist movie at all. Because in a lot of ways, I don't know about you and uh, Mike Chadway's Gerard Butler's character, Mike Chadway.
Mhm.
He's right in pretty much everything. Uh, and obviously, like he's a guy who is extremely hurt from his past,
Mhm.
and he ends up kind of like through his coaching of Abby, he starts to like all her. It's like god damn it, like I like this woman for some stupid reason. Uh, and I kind of I kind of feel for him, but it kind of feels like my own situation where it's like why do I love why the way that I do, but I do for some stupid reason.
Yeah, I
Um,
can never figure it out. It's it's one of those mysteries. Like, it's like, why is pi this, infinite number, why, it's like trying to figure out like why pi is like this infinite chain of numbers. It's like, I don't know.
yeah, no,
I can't make it rational.
those people should not like each other, but they do. Kind of like how like me and my wife, we should not like each other, but we do for some reason. Uh, and but it's like one of those things where it's like, but Abby is not the hero of this movie. Like she's not like she's made fun of the entire movie in a lot of ways.
Right. Yeah, she's the protagonist for sure, but she's not the hero of the story. Um,
No,
yeah, in a lot of ways. Yeah,
I
and it actually you're actually making some good points. Because usually, because a lot of like the funny like gags that that happened to her, that would usually be reserved for the man.
yeah,
Um,
like, I'm just a guy. I like sports.
I like sports and beer, and big boobies.
Yeah,
Which yeah, and it's funny because like they, towards the end they do kind of get like that typical kind of like caricature of a man. Um, but yeah, I would say this movie is pretty balanced. Like even like the love interest in what's his face, Eric Winter, who plays Tim Bradford on The Rookie, the one police show I think is doing it pretty good on network television, anyways.
yeah.
Um,
He's Colin.
yeah, he plays the
He's
love interest, Colin, and Colin isn't like he isn't like the closeted misogynist either. He's just a decent guy that just isn't the right fit for Abby. And it's not like a bad thing
like he's
or
not like
yeah, he's not like the secret misogynist where he's like, oh yeah, I was totally just after you for your tits. But like he actually like gave like
yeah.
good reasons, like oh like you didn't really you never really criticized me, you were low maintenance, but it's just like it wasn't like like he was just trying to get into her panties.
No, that's not at all because like they didn't have sex like during the relationship. Like they actually never had sex during their time together.
Exactly. Yeah, and like and yeah, he never came off as like this like secret like or he didn't reveal himself out to be like this secret jerk, which is kind of refreshing actually.
Yeah, yeah. Colin's not a bad guy either. Like you actually
hmm
have, like you actually way, kind of feel for Carl because he fell for the Mike Chadway of Abby, but that doesn't mean he's a guy. Like, that's what he was looking for, and that's what he saw of Abby. That's not because he was like a bad guy. And it's like but it's not what. That's just not what she was looking for.
Right.
And when she just happened to reveal, it's like, yeah, but I am this way, and it's like in a lot of ways, like not that Abby's a bad person, but she's kind of the not great person in this thing, because she's very controlling. She's very
right. She's very type A.
Yeah, but there's consequences to that. We see her. She lives with a cat.
And she's a literal cat lady.
And even her assistant is even worse off than Abby because she's not even in a power position, but it's like, I have to live vicariously through your dating life. It's like, God, how sad is I I have these have not been touched in years. It's like, oh my God, it's so sad.
Yeah, I mean, what is it? I remember, the assistant, not an ugly. She was a very cute girl. It's funny because it reminds me of.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of this early 2000s show. I mean, there was a lot of kind of reality shows back then. One of them was, kind of laughable now, but the hookup artist. But where it was kind of a boot camp for these kind of loser guys to gain self-confidence and be able to go and talk to women or whatever. Yeah, but it's interesting. But interestingly enough, there was and again it was the show was hosted by a guy, and he was kind of taking these kind of these Abby types. I mean, not as as attractive as Katherine Heigl. But still, these women who kind of got in their own way, when it came to love, and it was and now that show was actually more interesting to me than the male version, or with the pickup artist TV show, because it highlighted that sometimes it's not the men, it's the women who get in their own way, and kind of and similarly in this movie, The Ugly Truth, it's no, it's not the man's fault. It's the woman's fault. She's getting in her own way.
Well, and even in we see that parallel too with the news anchors, where when Mike Chadway first it starts his first segment with news channel with his news channel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, his first day.
He calls out, and he calls out Georgia and that was the male character in that movie.
One second, Larry.
Anchor.
Larry.
I remember. Yeah, I remember him from Yes Man.
Yeah.
But
he's a great comedic actor.
Dude, he's so good. I love everything he's in. I actually really like him, and he's so good.
Yeah,
John Michael Higgins.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny because Owen Benjamin on a recent stream kind of shouted him out too, because he worked with him on that sitcom he was on before he got kicked out of Hollywood. But and he called him the best comedic engineer he's ever worked with, because
so funny.
Yeah, because it's not that he comes up with these really clever jokes or anything, but he understands what makes things funny. And how there was this one scene that he was doing with him, and he played masseuse, and he thinks he made it work by just pumping oil and giving this kind of creepy look.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it's one of my favorite things in Yes Man is when he's Jim Carrey's friend, and he sees him at that that convention, that Yes Man cult convention, and it's where it's you're where they're kind of making fun of Jim Carrey, they're singling in on him. It's and they're calling him a no man. It's and you just see him mouthing of just like, no man, no, and like he's not saying anything, but like you just see him like mouthing everything and like doing all this like facial acting. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good. I love
Mm-hmm.
John Michael Higgins. He's so fun.
Yeah, he's really good. Yeah. But he was what you were saying, like with Mike, on his first day on the job, he was like calling things out as it were, as they were.
Yeah.
Georgia and Larry, they're in like this like what's the word? Asymmetrical relationship. Yeah, this asymmetrical relationship, like this, like where like the power dynamic was flipped because initially Larry was like the big hotshot anchor guy, and then Georgia kind of hitched her star to Larry, and she laid it out, cold bare facts that like even though like they're going through this rough spell now, it's like what are you gonna do, Georgia? Like you're in your 40s. Do you think you're gonna pull down some high value male at your age? And just like kind of like just kind of brutal truths, but truths nonetheless. Because like it's like Georgia, you're in your 40s. You're not a spring chicken. You're not the hot. You're not. You're no Katherine Heigl. At least Katherine Heigl at that time. And it's like there's no way that you can divorce Larry and then go and like snag another high value man. And for those of you unaware, that's called hypergamy, by the way.
Yeah. When
kind of like scaling up like leveling up for a woman, that's called hypergamy.
Well, even like on his public access show that that we come on, he's talking about how like it's like all these stupid self-help like love books are bullshit. This you guys like waste you women like waste millions of dollars on this psychobabble bullshit. And it's like in reality, is men are simple, and he's telling them exactly like what you have to do. It's ugly, it's not. Yeah, it's like and if you can't handle the truth,
Yeah, he gives them. Yeah, he's giving them. Yeah, he's giving them the keys to the kingdom.
don't call. It's
I mean,
the ugly truth. It's not pretty. It's fun, but it's the reality of the situation.
Or at least that's not what brings us to the table.
It's not that you won't end up liking personality, but that's not what we fall in love with. In this, yeah, but here's the thing.
It's like I mean, it's the same for men and women. It's like, is this person like bare minimum attractive to me?
He's hot.
Physically, yes or no? It's so it's like, yes, you have kind of like cooking parlance.
Bingo.
You have to learn how to plate. It's like you have to learn like where to put your veg, where you put your protein, where you put your starch, and make it look good, because one of the things that you always hear is like, oh, you eat with your eyes first.
Bingo.
And like if you can give me just a bowl of macaroni, just like put it in a bowl and like put it in front of my face, and yeah, sure, I'll eat it. But like, will I be hungering for it?
But that's where I felt like this movie was very refreshing in that sense, because normally like a lot of these cater to the women, because that's who's going to see these movies, which is fine. That's totally fine. This movie is not that at all. It is like I said, it's actually very balanced in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
It's not saying that like because Mike has his flaws, but not like just catering to women at the same time. It's like it's showing the flaw in men and women both, and yet it's also showing the strength of men and women. And it's like we need this is a movie where, like, you need each other. You know, we see that in like when Mike talks to and Larry. It's like, you know, you're not letting Larry be a man. It's your fault. Like, and at the same time, where are you gonna go? Larry's your best shot, and Larry, you need to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
You need to, you know, it's like you need to man up. Stop worrying about this stuff, and like Georgia, you need to, like, you know, where are you gonna go? Like, he's emasculated by who you're criticizing him. You make more money than him. It's like you need to, like, come back together and make stuff happen. And their marriage is like solidified after they meet Mike. You know, when he spells out the ugly truth of like the reality of what's going on, they have I think they end up having a good marriage again after that, because it's like almost like on honeymoon again.
Yeah. Something is rekindled in them.
Yeah, because
sure.
the rest of them, like, they can't keep their hands off each other.
Yeah, that's true. Let's see. What else?
I just the dialogue in this movie is superb. Like some of the one-liners that like Mike would throw out are just some of the sexual innuendo one-liners that he threw out there were superb.
And again, it's kind of refreshing that they actually, would allow for such a thing. I mean, yeah, it was 2009, so the Me Too hadn't happened, and like all the sensationalized rape allegation hasn't come out yet. But
it's like when we can still enjoy stupid jokes like that.
And I mean, yeah, and like, what is it like? As quote unquote vulgar as Mike was being, Abby gave it just as much back to him. When after they went shopping or whatever, like she would like smack his ass or whatever, and it's like, oh, like this is what you would have done, and it's and even Mike kind of rebuked her and was just like, I would never have done that to you.
Yeah, it's like, but that, it's just fun. This is a fun movie.
It is a fun movie.
The one thing because I was kind of digging into this, because a lot of hatred was on. God, they really hated Katherine Heigl. In like all these like reviews, man, they really hated on Katherine Heigl a lot. I'm like, why is that? Like, they talked a lot of crap about her from like because she's known as someone who is difficult to work with.
Right. She kind of cultivated that reputation after Knocked Up.
I'm gonna, from what I've read, I'm gonna say that I think it's very unwarranted, because I actually think she's someone who is very I'm someone that's like more conservative, because she is, she's a Mormon for one, and she's a pretty devout one. Yeah, I'm not advocating for Mormonism.
Oh, she's a Mormon?
Devout Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah, and she got married, I think, like shortly before. I think it was like shortly after Knocked Up. So it was before the movie started, and she kids. She's adopted another two, I think, One of them is a Korean kid.
That's right.
One of her sisters is adopted, who is also Korean.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, to be honest, I actually think she has like more conservative values, which is why she, when she knocked up, which, to be honest, I think she should have enjoyed that more because, that's actually surprisingly a based movie.
Yeah.
But it's like you're hanging around like Seth Rogen and a lot of his friends in that film, and it's like, and what we know of Seth Rogen now, it's like, oh God, he's such just a loser.
Yeah. I was just about to say loser too. I'm glad we're on the same page.
And he's a loser.
Yeah, no, seriously, he's like a really is
loser.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, when you look at like Katherine Heigl's life, like she spent some time in Hollywood, but like she has a real life that like she's made something of herself.
Right.
She's happy.
Yeah, so, she has a husband. She has kids. She has a legacy. She has more legacy. She's gonna have more of a legacy than Seth Rogen for sure.
Seth Rogen is a childless owner.
Yeah, who's insecure about Judy.
Yeah, and like, don't get me wrong, there are Seth Rogen movies that I like. But it's just like, I think that Katherine Heigl deserves the hate that she gets. Maybe she was difficult, but it's like more of like, yeah, I don't want my character to be like this bitch, but she was an executive producer on this film, and everyone like made fun of like, oh, so you had a problem with Knocked Up, but like not with this one, with like this, you have, and Nick Searcy's in this film, who we know who's like super super.
Yeah, we know Nick Searcy's base.
Yeah, it's like, oh, but you had all these problems with Knocked Up, but like you were an executive producer on this shit film, The Ugly Truth. It's like, give me a break. Like, don't get me wrong, I like Knocked Up. Knocked Up is a good movie.
Yeah, Knocked Up is more based than people might think.
But this movie is like, man, it's so balanced. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, you might dare say that it's very complementary.
Yeah, this is like, I think this is the most realistic romantic comedy, maybe outside of like When Harry Met Sally, that I've ever seen. Because I fucking hate romantic comedies.
Yeah, I mean, they're not my favorite, but they're I don't hate them. But yeah, this one is like, this one was very refreshing because it didn't portray men to be like all like knuckle. I mean, yes, there was that one guy, but that was more of like they were trying to. It was a caricature because. What is it? They only picked them because they were desperate, because they were desperate because kind of fast forwarding here, they have the critical moment between Abby and Mike, but they both blow it. In my opinion, they both blew it. And so one of the story points was that Mike was becoming so popular that he was attracting the attention of like bigger like networks. This one particularly CBS, and he was offered a job. This movie is set in Sacramento, and he was offered a big boost or promotion to San Francisco on a CBS affiliate. But he turned it down because he wanted, because interestingly enough, because Mike was family oriented, and he had a nephew that he wanted to be around and to help like raise. But because of the missed opportunity between him and Abby, he up and decides to leave, and in desperation they scramble to replace Mike with like Mike 2.0, but they don't do a very good job of vetting, and
143 women.
right, yeah, they get like this the worst kind of caricature of Mike possible, and it's really bad because it's like it's very shallow, and it's literally this character that they got, like, he was literally misogynistic and probably a rapist.
He was a rapist.
Yeah.
Not always mean no. Otherwise, I would not have slept with like 43 of the 143 women I slept with.
Right, exactly. And so, but even in that depiction, like it's a glaring contrast between Mike and that guy, because it's like this is what women, like, this is like man-hating feminists think men are, as opposed to like what we really are, which is in Mike.
Yeah, more like Mike. Mike is a realistic, relatable guy. Like, I think there's a lot of people that could relate to Mike. I'm not as good looking as Gerard Butler, but like there are so many qualities that he has. I'm like, God, yeah, I totally relate to this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like one of the most important qualities is that he's a straight shooter. Like and maybe this is from experience, but he's very upfront with his intentions with like women. It's like, yes, I want you for sex. I don't want you for a relationship. I just want you for sex. Or like, oh, I really like you, and but he's just direct and honest with them.
And we see him as a flawed character because he's been hurt in his past. He was the guy that like stopped love and had been burned on many occasions. And we see like when he essentially got called Craig Ferguson.
Right. Which is funny because Craig Ferguson is the most charming individual like ever.
Yeah.
So that was pretty interesting. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Do yourself a favor and go watch like old like clips of him from when he used to host the Late Late Show, and like just like the way that he was able to get he had like women eating out of the palm of his hands. It's
Dude,
incredible.
Yeah. He's also the Drew Carey Show.
Yeah. He played Drew Carey's character's boss. On that show, and he was great too. Yeah, it's funny because he was a Scotsman pretending to be an Englishman.
Yeah, that's right. But yeah, like in this movie, like he plays himself, like he just like immediately called out all of Mike's insecurities, like right off the bat. He called it.
Yeah.
And so it's like Mike's flaws, and at the same time, he I think he still like wants love, but like he's waiting for like that right person, and
or at the very least, like he only engages in like shallow type of relationships because he doesn't want because he doesn't want to be hurt again. Exactly. that old saying, once bitten, twice shy. So he's direct and upfront with women, but he doesn't try and go any deeper than like kind of the surface level, which is why I think what is it? Ultimately, why Abby's and Colin's relationship doesn't work, because Mike only helped Abby surface level to like attract Colin, but they never developed anything deeper because Abby wasn't being truthful to who she was with Colin. So
Right.
so she learned how to plate her, she learned how to plate, but there was no substance.
Yeah, and also, not because Colin was a bad guy,
Right.
but
Or
it's more
not that Colin
he,
was like superficial either.
yeah, because he actually from I would say like he's been hurt too because he's had a lot of men who have criticized him and like told him he's like worthless,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like we're too demanding of him,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like he's just like looking for something more. He's he's looking for love, but he's looking for someone who's not gonna like just
Yeah, he's looking for low maintenance.
yeah, and that just happened, and he thought that Abby was that, and when she revealed, like, yeah, but I'm not, and I think that like Colin was probably pretty hurt,
Mm-hmm.
but and what I liked about this movie is like it was not a like, they weren't like fucking like from like the get go. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, yeah, she's basically attracted to him, and vice versa. Um, but it wasn't. This is actually very like not very sexual. We get like one
No,
kind of
yeah.
sort of sex scene at the end.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and you have like the kind of like a comedy of the errors where she's hanging from the tree and like she, it's more of an innuendo. It's more of a like a sight gag where like she's like she gets like their meet cute is like she's like trying to get her cat out of a tree and then she like fall she kind of loses her footing and then she's upside down and like you can see her underwear or whatever. But then like she was also kind of like peeving, perving on him a little bit because like he just came, he came
Yeah.
out of the shower. But yeah, like, then there was like, like, oh, like she was like frantically swinging her arms and she snagged a towel that he wrapped himself with and like saw his dong or whatever. But really, yeah, this movie, and like, yeah, there was a lot of like innuendo, like with like the vibrator scene and
Or the baseball stadium.
yeah, but like it wasn't too expressly sexual.
It was not exploitive.
Right.
Exploitative. Yeah.
Right. It was more, yeah. It was played up for comedy, and and when was it? And when it was time for them to like, show like the ultimate expression of their love for each other, it was saved for the end. With
Yeah.
and that was pretty tasteful.
I really like this movie. I've seen it about like 10 times now,
Mm-hmm.
and I would say I have liked it every time. It's fun. I laugh every time because it's a fun movie, and the dialogue's fun, the characters are fun, and I think this is probably the most realistic romantic comedy I've ever seen. Outside maybe like When Harry Met Sally.
I wouldn't necessarily say when Harry Met Sally was it's like realistic, but it's more believable.
Yeah, I mean it's along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, similarly to this movie, I would say that well, the thing this movie has going for it is that it's believable and somewhat realistic.
Yeah, and like I said, this is a what has like those innuendos. It's actually a really wholesome film. I find this to be a pretty wholesome and fun film.
Say that again.
I would say that like I be a fun. It's yes, it has like innuendo, but it's a wholesome film at the same time. Like it's something.
Right. Yeah, I'd agree with that assessment. Um,
yeah, no, why don't we, I don't really have anything else more to say about The Ugly Truth. There was just so much. I was trying to find like any interviews or like kind of like the post production or stuff about like the film.
Mm-hmm.
God, there was just nothing to find. The only thing I found was just the
vitriol for it. Yeah.
The hate articles.
It's after watching this movie, it's making me a little curious to see the other movie that she made, 27 Dresses.
Yeah, I kind of want to watch that too. Because we watched Knocked Up, we reviewed that, we reviewed The Ugly Truth, and 27 Dresses was the other movie that she made in this era.
Yeah, exactly. So
I might want to watch that too, actually. And I mean, I've been a Katherine Heigl fan since I saw her on Roswell. That was where I met Katherine Heigl, and I thought she was like, oh my god, she's super hot. But
yeah, very smart.
Yeah, she's very smart. Actually, she's in a couple of films now where I saw. She's in this movie called what was it? Night of Rain, I believe, or Fear of Rain. And it's more of a that's her film that I think that just came out, and that actually sounds like it might be pretty interesting. It's like a psychological thriller. Seemed pretty interesting, so I might check that out. But yeah, I'm glad you liked the movie. Why don't we give our rating?
All right.
Do you want to go first, Andy?
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a 4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the same. It's like it's not a perfect movie.
Right.
What I like about it is that it's fun.
Yeah, it's enjoyable.
Yeah, it's I thoroughly. This is a great adventure. It's a very balanced movie. It's not a feminist movie. It's not a male movie. It's kind of, I think it realistically portrays both sides of male female
relations.
And it Gerard Butler and Katherine Heigl are so good in this. I like to be honest, I like all the cast. It's a lot of fun, and this is just one of those movies that I can go back to time and again, and just as much as the first time I watched it. Like I said, I hate romantic comedies, but this is
one of the better ones.
This is one that steals the show. It's so good. I highly recommend it. Don't read the stupid articles and the dumb critics. This is one of those things that also ratioed on Rotten Tomatoes. You get it's 14% of the critics, and I think it's 60% of the for the audience. But to be honest, even that's not right, because this should be much more than that.
Absolutely, and I think it's because I remember when because you're right about the whole skewing thing, because they kind of give it to the feminists right away, because in their morning meeting or whatever, where Nick Searcy's character is saying oh yeah, I'm gonna bring on this Mike Chadway guy, and they show him a clip, and it's like oh man, and it's everyone has that knee jerk reaction. It's oh, this guy's a misogynist. And it's like how it's like, and it kind of throws it throws in the face of like all of like the feminists and like their allies like right away, and so that that's also probably why it got ratioed so hard.
Yeah, and knowing, and this is where I have to say, like, I think Kat Michaels, she's the executive producer of this movie, and like, she's I don't think she likes feminists.
Wow, another appreciate Katherine Heigl, not just because of her smarts.
I have a feeling that Katherine Heigl is more of a conservative than we're led to believe. She's difficult because she is not liked by these like lefty weirdos.
Right? Yeah, it's like it's like that saying. It's like your booze me things. I know what you cheer for.
Yeah, and she is her character, who is the like quote unquote feminist hero, like is made fun of like the entire.
Yeah. That's right. She gets really good. Like I mean, like that scene with like the vibrating panties and stuff.
Yeah, it's like I said. I think Katherine Heigl deserves a lot more respect than she gets. Obviously, she hasn't been in like she made her her time in television with like Grey's Anatomy and Roswell, and then she had like this run, like she was 7 dresses, Knocked Up, and then there was this one, and after this one, like she got really reamed, and especially like all her backlash against the crew of Knocked Up and everything. And I'm actually starting to think it's because like I mean, Knocked Up's a lot more conservative than people probably think, but yeah, she's still around like all those like leftist weirdos like Seth Rogen and
I mean, I'm seeing that on Google right now, and yeah, like IMDb has it at 6.4 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 14%. Metacritic has 28%. But interestingly, 8% of Google users like this movie.
There we go. That's like I said. Literally every mainstream article is negative on this film, and that's where it's like, I don't think so because it's fucking good.
Yeah, and I mean, like I don't even necessarily need Katherine Heigl to be conservative or whatever, or right leaning. Like as long as she's based,
either.
As long as she's based, that's cool too.
I think she is.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, and like one of my favorite TV shows, even though it kind of like the quality kind of dropped off at Suits. Like she was in the last season of Suits.
Right, in the last couple seasons of Suits. She replaced like the crazy Meghan Markle.
Something like that, yeah. Which is a shame because I actually like Meghan Markle like in the first few seasons. Like she like at least like I found her to be very hot, but her crazy it's like that weird like shift where like you see like the craziness like the hot that kind of like start like switch places. Yeah. And with Joe Biden's approval where it's like started off like high approval and then like slowly starts like switch places.
81 voted for him. Okay?
I know. I don't mean to disparage the most popular president in history. I mean more so than like the first black president.
I know. Come on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't mean to disparage, but I mean the guy's a fucking vegetable. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, why don't we?
Anyways.
Why don't we call it a day?
Yeah, that'll do it for us tonight. About The Ugly Truth. Both Robert and I get a 4. It is a very enjoyable movie, and we would recommend it. Yeah, it's just good fun, And if you're looking for like a good movie where it's like without the message, then you'll fully enjoy this movie.
Yeah, this is really good. And technically, I hate romantic comedies. This was introduced to me by my wife, and my wife. I loved every minute of it. I've seen it about 10 times now, and I enjoy it just as much as I did the first time.
Yeah, and I liked it too, up until I found out that it was a recommendation from Rob's wife, and then I hated it. But then, for the sake of the stream, I decided to actually like it again. But now that the stream is over, I hate it. It's absolute garbage.
I hear her saying like, fuck you, Andy. I heard go to hell.
Yeah, no, this is the most absolute garbage piece of shit I ever saw. Does she know that we're? Does she know that we're live right now?
Yeah, she knows.
Okay. All right. That's the. I'll do it for tonight. I hope you had a good time. I had a good time. Rob, I know Rob always.
I had a great time. The Tuesday day of the week, I get to live stream with Andy, and we get to talk about movies and other just bullshit that pisses us off during the week. So.
All right. Yeah, so don't forget to check out the library of other content that we have. The Circular Jerks main podcast, Nocturnal Transmissions, of course, and Rob's gaming show, Up by Up Down. Don't forget to follow us on our various social media accounts, Twitter and Letterboxd @PodcastCOJ, and Instagram @Circular Jerks Podcast. And with all that said, we thank you for joining us. Come back next week and we'll do it all over again. Have a good night. And we're clear.
Hey!
Worst movie ever. Such garbage.
What was your favorite scene in the movie?
I hate the movie. It was utter.
Did you like the where the scene in the what's it called, baseball stadium scene?
No, that was so stupid and juvenile.
He's not gonna give you.
I hated every minute of it.
I'm so tired.
I think when you go.
No, I have to review because I'm doing the new one on Thursdays. I have to know all the orders because he's gonna test it. Oh my god, we went from the toes to freaking quads. Oh my god, there's so many. I think we massaged 20 to 25 minutes for one leg.